Hi everyone, thanks for joining us today for the DIY book marketing webinar. My name is Margie Carr-Jarrett and I'm joining you from Jerusalem, Israel as part of Weaving Influence's virtual team. Just as we begin, we'd love to hear from everyone where you're calling in from, so if you could take a look at the question answer panel on the right hand side and just let us know where you're calling from. It'd be great to see where everyone's located. So before we begin, I'd like to add a few technical considerations. We're recording this webinar so you can share it later with your friends or colleagues, and you'll be able to rewatch it if you'd like. It'll be on our Weaving Influence website. And we'd invite you to join the conversation on social media channels. If you're on Twitter, you can use the hashtag bookmarketing. And let's see if we have any answers over here. It'd be in the, San Antonio, Texas, okay. And Michigan, Atlanta, Georgia, Michigan again. Okay, so Pittsburgh, all across the United States. We'll see if we get any other international attendees besides myself. Chicago, great, nice to have you here. All right, so I'd like to introduce our host. Becky Robinson is the CEO of Weaving Influence and has led her team in successfully launching over 90 books. Becky's also a wife, a mother of 3, and an avid runner. Please feel free to post questions throughout the webinar, and I'll hop back on at the end to share those with Becky during the Q&A period. Also, I want to note that we want you to stay until the very end because we have a special offer for you, our webinar attendees, and we don't want you to miss that. Also, this is a 30-minute webinar. You may have attended one of our previous webinars that may have been an hour, so I just wanted to clarify that. And without further ado, I'm going to hand the mic over to Becky Robinson, and I hope you enjoy.
Hi everyone, it's really fun to be here. Some of you may have joined us for the last webinar a couple of weeks back. If by chance you didn't, I would welcome you to go ahead and find that first webinar we did. And in that first webinar, we reviewed the 4 phases of a book launch, the way that our team has envisioned them. And before we move into today's content, I want to just set some context for that and remind you of those 4 phases. So from the time you write a book, even before you write the book, I encourage authors to, before that, always be in the mindset of building the platform that they might need to market their books. And so I call that the building phase. And that building phase of book marketing can begin, like I said, way before you've even written a book. So I have dreamed for years of writing a traditional book and traditionally publishing a book. And so all of the work that I've been doing from the time that I first joined Facebook in 2009 until the present time, I would consider part of my building phase, as I want someday to prepare to market a book. So if you have not yet completed your book, you are definitely firmly in the building phase, and we can talk more about that. After the building phase comes the working phase, which is usually about 3 months before the book launches until the pub date of your book. And then the launching phase encompasses the week or month during which your book is released. And the launching phase is a time to build tremendous momentum for your book and to get it started on a right path. And it's my deeply held belief that if you want to be exceedingly successful in marketing your book, you need to be committed for the long term. And so the authors that I've seen be successful as it relates to continuing sales of their book have a long-term view of marketing the book, not only for weeks, but for months and years. So after you get through the launching phase, I call it the advancing phase, which really is the way that you want to keep your book in the conversation long term. And that kind of folds back into the building phase because you always want to be building new audiences for your book. So those are the 4 phases of book marketing: building, working, launching, and advancing. And as I referenced before, you can learn more about those by referencing our original webinar that we had a couple of weeks back. So for today, we want to talk a little bit about, well, if you want to do your book marketing yourself, how do you even begin? And so I want to start by sharing with you a graphic that you can also find on our website. And over time, my team and I have been working to really help people understand and structure their book marketing. And the most important thing is that every book marketing strategy needs a center. And so if you notice this graphic that I have up at the very center, it says your site, your online home. And we use the house and the mailbox to represent your website. So we want to talk today for a few minutes about the importance of a book marketing website. I find that it's exceedingly critical to have a website that you own and control, because if you put all of your efforts around marketing out on someone else's platform, that's a platform that could change at any time. So the importance of the book marketing website or your own author website is that you own and control it. And so what we always want to do when we're marketing a book is to spend most of our efforts trying to get people to the site that you own, not to Amazon, not to Goodreads, not even to Hometown Reads, which is a site that I own and love. You really want to make sure that you're funneling all your efforts towards your own website. The mailbox beside the house stands for email marketing. So once you get someone to come to your website, the very most important action that you can get them to do is to give you permission to email market to them long term. And so we have the mailbox next to the house on the center of this graphic to remind you that what you want to do once someone comes to your website is to get their permission to email market to them so that you can begin to build a relationship with them. So we want to spend a few minutes in a little bit talking about the important components of a book marketing website. But for a minute, I just want to talk a little bit about the way these other book marketing initiatives contribute. So social media, you might be wondering as an author what value social media has for you. And what we have found in serving our clients over 90 book launches is that social media is a great place to find and form relationships and to build interest in your book. So social media is not an end in itself. I wouldn't like to see any author only use a Facebook presence as a means of interacting with their tribe. Instead, social media is a great kind of place to go fishing to see who might be interested in your book. And then once you begin to build those relationships on social media, the important thing is to drive that traffic back to your own website. And so I have an analogy that I always use for this, and it's really the difference between, having a casual encounter with someone at a coffee shop or inviting them over to your home. And so there's a big difference in the, intimacy level or the connection if you invite someone into your home. And that's exactly what it's like when someone chooses to go from a social media platform over to your website. They're showing a different level of commitment and interest in you. And so we do social media well when we can create enough interest that people will actually want to come home and see us on our own website. So we want to talk also about networks. So likely, as you've been seeking to market a book, you have networks that can be of great value in this effort. So you might have networks of friends and family. You might have networks of colleagues. You may have networks in community organizations of which you're a part. And as you think about doing book marketing yourself, one of the most important investments of time and energy that you can make is in organizing those networks and understanding the contribution those people might have as it relates to getting the word out about your book. A third area that we talk about as it relates to fueling book marketing is what we call creative differentiators. And this is going to be unique for every single person who's doing book marketing themselves, and really the creative differentiators are anything that you can do that's unique regarding your title. And so we've served a client for many, many years named Chip Bell, and one of the ways that he has differentiated his book is, first of all, he chooses titles for his business books that are a little bit off the wall. I wonder if I can even grab one from down there. So one of his book titles is Sprinkles, and so when he decided that he was going to send out sprinkles, thank you, to a whole bunch of people, with every package he included sprinkles. Now, he kind of set himself up for that, didn't he? But what you want to do is think about what is it that's unique about your book, and what unique, energetic approach can you take to helping people remember both you and your title. The outside circle, which we're not really going to talk much about today, is digital publicity or any kind of traditional publicity. Typically, traditional or digital publicity is a credibility builder for any author, and it also can be an outreach effort so that more people can find out about your title. But the important thing that I want to underscore is all these things are supporting to what's really valuable, which is creating your own online presence for your book marketing efforts through your own website. So we're going to take a look now at an example of a book marketing website that my team and I have built for a client. This book actually came out in 2014, and if you want to follow along and actually go to the website to see how it functions, you can type in dare to serve leaders with an s.com, and you can see how this works. So I'm just going to pause for a moment to say that you might, as an author who's going to do your own book marketing, be wondering about whether you should have an individual website for your one book, or whether you should have an author website that encompasses both you and your book and any books that you might write in the future. And my best advice is, if you plan to write more than one book, it's likely better to start with an author website. And then within that author website, you can add each book as you write it and include important book marketing components. If you think that you might really put a lot of energy around one title and it's not necessarily connected to the other work that you're doing in the world, then it can also be helpful to have a standalone website for each book. And a lot really depends upon the amount of money you have to invest, the amount of energy that you have to continue to fuel your web presence on those sites, and really what just feels right to you. As someone who has lots of websites in the world, I always think simple is better. And so typically what I would recommend is that you try to buy your own name as a domain. So you might, if you're interested in this book, you can go to cherylbatchelder.com, and you can see that Cheryl has her own site there, I think. Now I'm getting confused. But then also chose to have this standalone book marketing site when her book released in 2014. So if you were to build a standalone website for a book or a page within your larger website, there are a few best practices that our team recommends that I want to share with you using Cheryl's site as an example. So at Dare to Serve Leaders, what you're going to find is this is a one-page website that jumps around to the various parts of the site as you click the navigation. And one of the things is that we have a really visually appealing picture that quickly helps you see what this website is about. And also we have some credibility for Cheryl herself, as you see here that she's rated amongst top restaurant chain CEOs. And so let's take another look. So one of the things you always want to include, if possible, is a sample of the book. You know, quite often people want to try the book before they buy it, and by giving them a chance to read the book, you may create additional sales and interest. Now, the fun thing that you'll notice if you happen to click on any of our sample chapters is that we've embedded in those sample chapters the ability for people to buy the book instantly with buy links, and also to share the book. So if you're going to do your book marketing yourself, one of the things you always want to do as much as possible is make it easy for people to share your book. And the sample chapter is one way to do that, because we have instant social share buttons embedded in every sample chapter. So let's take a look at the next. Here we go. So these are what you call endorsements. And likely if you've written a book, you have been involved in looking for those high-level endorsements, people saying why your book is worth reading. And so whenever possible, if you're building a book page to market your book, you want to make sure that you showcase and highlight the important endorsements that you've worked so hard to gather. Let's see what else. So on this site, one of the things that we're also doing is giving a press contact. And look, my hair is shorter and possibly even a different color. So what we have here are up-to-date press clippings. So as I mentioned before, digital media or traditional media is a great way of building credibility for a title. And if you have that media, you want to make sure that people can see it and read about you and your book. If you are doing your own book marketing, then you want to make sure that you list yourself as a press contact. Make it easy for the press to find you. I would definitely recommend that you give the press your cell phone number whenever possible, or an email address. You do not want the lack of someone being able to contact you to become a barrier in the media being able to reach you as it relates to creating a story about your book. I think we have more. Obviously, you want to make it really easy on your book marketing website for people to buy your book. And you might notice that we're including a variety of sales links. And the reason is that we want to show love to all the booksellers, not only Amazon. Not everyone wants to buy a book from Amazon. So whenever possible, we recommend that you use as many different outlets for sales so that people can choose. And then additionally, if you do have a business or nonfiction title, you always want to make sure that people know how to get the best pricing for bulk quantities of your book. Oh, do we not have the share buttons? Okay, so sorry about that. So if you did click through to Dare to Serve Leaders, you're going to find out that one of the most important things that you can do, and let's just go back to that other slide if you don't mind. At the very bottom of all of our book marketing pages, the thing that we include that's the most important and valuable is what we call share graphics and also share links. So as you want to seek to mobilize your network to share your book, you want to make it as absolutely easy as possible. So when I send out the follow-up links, I'll be sure to include for you information. Our team uses utilities like Click to Tweet or Facebook Share, and you can very easily give people with one click the ability to share your book across social media channels, which can enable you to reach as many people as possible. So we're going to talk now for a few minutes, and boy, I feel like I'm going 100 miles an hour. Does anybody mind if I take a deep breath? Okay, good. Since you can't talk back, I just will. One of the things that we've seen over time is that one of the most valuable investments authors can make is getting advanced copies of their book into the hands of people who care about them and who would be willing to share the book. And that can be a combination of media, but it can also be bloggers or friends or colleagues. And so as often as possible when we have launches, we mobilize what we call a launch team. And if you're an author who's just getting started, you can often look to your Facebook community or other social media communities and ask people, who would like to be a part of my launch team? And, maybe you'll have 10 or 15 or 20 people sign up, and then the most important thing that you can do is help them share the excitement of launching your book. So if you are doing book marketing yourself, mobilizing a launch team who can be enthusiastic and support you is really, really helpful. What we've shown here in the screenshot is a picture of a Facebook group that we've founded for a client in order to be able to mobilize and share communication with his launch team. And one of the best things that happened was the author himself engaging with that launch team. So if you're doing your own book marketing, one of the valuable assets you have is yourself and your own energy and enthusiasm, especially if you're a first-time author. Your community or launch team, the people who raise their hand and say, yes, I'll help, they're going to love to hear from you. They're going to love that insider look at what it takes to market a book. They're going to love that insider look at how hard it is to have a book in the first place and get to that point. And anything that you're willing to share authentically about your journey is really going to help fuel their interest and engagement with you. So once you have your launch team identified, there are several steps that you can take, and I'll send you a link in our follow-up materials to an article that I wrote that talks about the value of a launch team. But basically, there are a few simple things that you can do. Getting those folks a print copy of your book is exceedingly valuable and helpful because they can read the book in advance, potentially even write Amazon reviews the first week that the book is out. You can add those people with their permission to an email marketing list, so you can send them reminders. For example, you can send them a save the date so they remember when your book launch is. You can send them, the day before, hey, my launch is coming. Here's, a list of some simple ways that they can help. And then, as I said, you can form even a Facebook group or community so that you can engage more day-to-day about the excitement of the book launch. So I got through all that without hardly breathing, and I'm going to invite Margie back because I'm guessing that you might have some questions and I would love to answer them. So Margie, whenever you're ready to come back.
Okay. Can you hear me?
I can.
All right. So our first question is, in what stage of my book's publication do I need a website and email marketing list?
That is a great question. So as I mentioned, you always want to be building. So the sooner that you can build an email marketing list, the better. What I typically say is about 90 days before your book is set to launch, it's great to have your book marketing page or your book website ready. If that's not possible, then I'd say as soon as possible before the book launches. But my rule of thumb usually is, at least 90 days before launch. There are some folks who will throw up what you call a splash page to let people know that a book is coming. And I've seen some authors who begin kind of pre-marketing maybe as soon as they get a book deal, because that's obviously really exciting. If you can share a picture of, hey, we just, I just signed a deal, or here are the early covers. There are lots of different milestones along the way during which you can use that as kind of a pre-marketing, a really soft touch of getting people excited about your book.
Okay, so the next question is, I'm really interested in building a press kit. Do you have any resources or specific recommendations of how to do that?
Sure, that's a great question. So what I might do is if I were taking a DIY approach to book marketing and I wanted to put together a press kit, I would start by doing some research of authors who might be similar to me. I would go to their websites, look at their press kits, and see what those press kits contain. And then I would evaluate based on what I plan to do as it relates to media, what exactly I need. In our company, we have gotten away from like really slick designed press kits and gone more toward like more low-key Word doc press kits, because what we're finding is that because the press is so busy, what they want is something that they can easily copy paste and add to their stories. And when you have a slick designed PDF, that is not so conducive to the press being able to copy and paste the information that they need. So I would say, you know, really think about what your goals are, look at what others are doing, and then see what is the right fit for you when you compile the components of your press kit. We may have an article on our website, and we can search for that, and if so, add that to our email follow-up as well. I'm not positive that we have an article about that, but we may.
Okay, that would make a good article. All right, the next question is, can I do digital publicity myself, or do I have to hire someone else to do it?
You know, that's a really great question. Definitely, you can always do any of it yourself. And the question is the amount of time and energy that it would take you as it relates to the learning curve and research going to offset like which is the better investment of time, energy, and money? And so, for example, when we serve a client on digital publicity, we have relationships that are already established that make it easier for us to get opportunities. And we also invest in a media database, which cuts out a lot of time on research. And so if you're starting from scratch to do digital PR, while there are lots of great ways to go about that, including, you know, free stories that you can get in your inbox through Help a Reporter Out, sometimes you're going to do better to hire someone if it means that they have the relationships that you need. So it really depends if you have more time than money or more money than time about whether or not you can do digital PR yourself. I would also say if you're really skilled at using social media, Twitter is a great place to connect with journalists, and I've personally had some really exciting exchanges where I'm looking to pitch myself or someone else and see that instant connection on Twitter. So certainly if you're a Twitter fan and, you know, skilled at connecting with people, that can be a place where you can create opportunities for yourself.
Okay, and the final question, unless anyone wants to add another question in, is what are the best venues for person-to-person sales, readings, or signings in libraries, bookstores, invitation to book groups? What are kind of the best ways to target these in-person?
Sure, that's a really great question, and I might also ask the community of authors who are present on this webinar if you have any comments to share about the best venues for in-person events. I've personally seen a lot of authors really in pain over the value of in-person events, particularly book signings, because quite often you might spend a lot of time and energy to arrange it only to have one or two people come. And so I would say if you have an opportunity to speak to a group, even if it's for free, if you know the size of the group in advance, those speaking opportunities where you might have several hundred people in a room and investing time to get those opportunities would likely be more valuable than a store signing or a library signing. Although, you know, if you want to create the best possible impacts, as many opportunities as you can create as possible to be out there. You also want to think about the resonant value of an opportunity. So even if the book signing perhaps is not very well attended, if you can capture some great photos and get those out on your social channels, it can remind people and be like a really soft touch way of continuing to market your book. And I would say also if you have a book that reaches a particular niche of people, that looking for groups that are already meeting at which you might be able to speak or come and share about your book would be valuable. I would also say don't underestimate the impact of an online event. So, you know, just as we were able to pull together some people interested in book marketing from all across the country on a webinar event, authors can do the same. And doing a webinar or other live event on online channels can perhaps be more powerful than those in-person events.
All
So I
right,
hope
so we
that
just
helps.
had we had one more question come through, and our listener wants to know, what color should an author use if they want to market to both men and women for a website?
Oh, you know what? That's a really great question that I wouldn't necessarily presume to know. Quite often, if you're going to build a website that is around the book, so I showed sprinkles, you're going to choose colors that coordinate with the book cover. As it relates to gender, I'm sure that people of all genders like all colors, so I don't know that there's any like one color that would fit. I would say one thing you can do if you're curious about colors, especially in choosing the cover of your book, is to visit airport bookstores or even visit local bookstores and see what the trends are. So for a while, it seemed like every single business book cover that would come through our door was white and red. And I don't know particularly what the color trends are at the moment. But I think quite often, getting some opinions from people in your community, whether, surveying your Facebook friends to see which color palettes they like most, or seeking input through a survey can be helpful.
Okay, so that's all the questions we have.
No problem, because we have something else exciting to do. What I want to do next is I want to take our listeners over to the Book Marketing Action Guide, which is the new course that we created to support authors who want to DIY their book marketing. And Aubrey has brought that up. So we have an inside look today at what's inside our Book Marketing Action Guide course. So my team and I have spent months and months putting together all the resources that we have worked on as it relates to really understanding what works with book marketing, what works well, and how authors can walk themselves through a successful book launch. And if Aubrey, you could scroll down. So basically, we've divided our course into the 4 phases of a book launch. And every single phase, you see the numbers there, have videos that you can watch. And then also every single video has some accompanying written resources that have even more detail. So if you can keep scrolling, one of the things that every single phase has is a checklist, and I think you have that open. If we could just take a quick look at the checklist, if you don't mind. Can you show me how you can actually click on those tasks in the checklists? Go back to the checklist, I'm sorry. So you can actually click those as you're done. So you'll notice here 4 to 6 months before your book launch, you want to decide on a website center for your book marketing efforts and explore resources, and you can actually check off in every single phase of the Book Marketing Action Guide the steps that you're taking. So if you can go back to the course just for 1 second, Aubrey. So what you're going to notice is that each phase of the book marketing process has its own videos, and then with each video you're going to have, if you scroll down a little bit farther, different written information. So once you watch the video and think through the ideas, then you can actually do some follow-up reading. And we've gathered like gazillions, literally, of these resources to help fuel your book marketing efforts. So if we can go back to the slides, I think we're almost out of time from our 30 minutes, and we have a quick poll that Margie wants to ask related to the next event. So if you can go to the next slide, we are going to have another book marketing webinar coming up on July 13th, and we want you to help us decide what we should talk about. So Margie, if you can get that poll started for us. So if you're on today's call and you would like to dig deeper on one of these topics, either book marketing websites, email marketing strategy, social media strategy, content marketing, or blogging, we would love to see your votes. And then right after this poll is closed, we will share our special offer with you. If your topic is not on this list, please feel free to type it in the question panel.
Okay. Answers are coming in. Looks like
Great.
Most people are interested in email marketing strategy, but we've got interest in all the different categories, so we'll have to convene and consider what would be the most popular option for our next webinar.
So Margie, can you close the poll and show the results to our attendees? And then we do have that special offer coming in just a second.
Yes.
So do you know how to share the poll results? There we go. So wow, definitely a high percentage of people interested in email marketing and social media strategy. We must have allowed more than one answer. So thank you so much for that. And Margie, if you can hide the poll. All right, so the special offer that we have for you today is that we have a promo code for you, DIY webinar, and when you use that promo code, you'll be able to take $100 off the price of our course, which I think will bring the price to, I don't know, where's the price right now, Margie? Is it once you take
The
the
price is
$100
now
off?
the price is $249. So once you take the $149 off, it's 100. I'm sorry, the $100 off, it's $149.
Okay, perfect. And you can purchase the course, the Book Marketing Action Guide, by going to weavinginfluencelab.com. And once you do that, you'll have access to all the resources that we showed you when we took a look at the course together. And we would love to have you, we would love to be your virtual coach through the book marketing process if you're going to do your own book marketing. So thank you to all of you who have attended. We'll be back in touch with some follow-up materials, and I hope you have a fantastic day.